All right, why is AA different now? So before, you might have a Des Moines that was able to escort a ship, and if I understand correctly, the Des Moines had defensive fire, and it could just murder face, annihilate, destroy innate planes. So you're over here, you got a battleship, the enemy CV is all queued up, it's got all of his ducks in a row, and you've got your RTS whatever where you got, your 5 planes have formed Voltron, they've all moved into one, and they're moving in one big death group, they're coming in. And thank God your Super Des Moines over here, who has extended AA range, inspect for it, and use defensive fire, they're going to hit the defensive firewall, which is going to completely fuck their aim. And instead of just coming in here and murder facing your battleship in a single strike, the torps go wide, planes die, stuff gets annihilated, your battleship lives. So essentially you had defensive AA, and defensive AA was the I win button. It was the you don't die today battleship button. You get to absolutely annihilate this shit. But there is a reason why you need the I win button. First off, it's because literally in this situation, the battleship could just be erased off the face of the earth when you layer over 5 squads of torpedo planes or what the hell ever right on top of each other, and they just digest a battleship for free. So, but the other reason why the I win button technically works in this situation in terms of gaming concepts is that you as the player, or as the CV, have 5 different interaction points. We can nip that one off just for fun. So your 5 planes could be one over there, one over here, one over here. It may be ineffective to stack your planes this way. You might actually be losing lethality, losing potential to be able to do this, but having extreme amounts of AA that are just going to delete one squadron off the map, the player, the enemy player that's over here, still has other things to do, still has other stuff to play with. In a different way to look at this, it's like if you have a ship that you lose a gun turret on, you still have another gun turret, or 2 or 3, depending on whatever the ship is. Losing a gun turret, losing some torp tubes, it doesn't end your interaction with the game. Now, ultimately, a CV had a certain number of planes that it could replenish, and then so it could send out yet another squad, run them out here, whatever. It's got more planes and stuff. Well, let's keep it small because they're planes. I don't know. And they can run through their ammo clip until it's finally dry. But because you don't have to put all the eggs in one basket, you can play them individually. You could torp this ship over here, torp that shit over there. Realistically, focus fire is extremely powerful. So yeah, the stronger CV players are going to focus fire because it's extremely powerful. Removing an enemy ship from the board is a massive advantage. So you probably almost always see strikes like this, or strikes that are coordinated to be able to annihilate a ship or do something, as opposed to doing a little penny packet. Ooh, I hit him with 2 torps. Ooh, I hit him with 1. It's just not realistic to expect that. But you can still design the AA system around the idea of completely annihilating a squadron or 2 or 3, and the player still having other interaction points, other little puppets to dance with for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes or whatever until they happen to run out or the game ends or whatever. You're not just straight up annihilating the player's ability to interact. Now, if we instead look at this in terms of current day, you'll have people that'll look at this and go like, well, my Des Moines used to annihilate all the planes. It used to slaughterify the planes. Oh my god, these planes, man, they were just dead. Well, now the enemy CV has one group of planes. Now that group of planes may include 1 attack, 2 attacks, 3 attacks, in some cases 4. I think the highest is 6 with the Hakuryu torpedo planes. But it has one point source. 1. So if you ended up running your planes in against the Des Moines, and then Des Moines just automatically murders them all, you don't have any play. You don't have an attack. There's no interaction there. The interaction there is, haha, get fucked, you die. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but there was a Des Moines, there was a Worcester, there was the Kid, there was the Minotaur. There were all kinds of no-fly zones that existed in the game with the old concept of AA. And moving forward after the rework, you don't have 100 to 0 one-shot potential anymore. So the 100 to 0 one-shot potential of AA also got removed. They both got removed at the same time. Now it's multiple interactions. You chisel down a few planes, they chisel down some health. You chisel down some planes, they chisel down some health. It goes both ways in this instance. Some people are not excited about that, as carrier health is not planes. Planes do not translate into carrier health. It translates into carrier resources, but denying somebody resources is not the same as beating the shit out of the ship. People have a more visceral interaction with that. But here's the more interesting thing, at least this is my conjecture as to why we have ships like the Holland and the Golden Lion and stuff like that now. So, taken as their own ship, a Des Moines is a great ship. There may be a CV in the game, there may not be a CV in the game. The Des Moines is a great ship. If you go into clan battles, even if there's no CVs, you may still see a Des Moines because it's got radar, it has excellent gunplay, it has extreme amounts of damage, it has the ability to shrug off shells, depending on what's shooting at it. The Des Moines is an excellent ship, even without having an I win button. The Worcester is an excellent ship. You may see it brought into clan battles. You may see it in COTS, where it's in a smoke screen, using its arcs to be able to shoot over islands and stuff and aggressively attack positions, even when there's no CV. It has hydro, it has radar, it has defensive fire, it's got all the consumables, it's got all the stuff, and it's still an interesting ship without the I win button, without the amazing AA. Taken instead, looking at some of the newer lines, well, you could say the devs have figured out, hey, people want to murder planes, so they're starting to design stuff in the direction of ultimate plane death. So they came out with the Holland, which was preceded by the Friesland, which was, probably a test concept. But the Holland has workable guns. They're not great. They're workable. Some people like them. I think they're workable. They're not amazing. They're not the best guns in the world. It has workable torpedoes. Well, what do you mean? The torpedoes are amazing. They're fast. Their damage sucks. So, yeah, you might hit a torp. You might hit two. But they're not going to do very much because their damage sucks. So, as much as you might look at a Holland as a torp boat, it's got workable guns. It has workable torps. It doesn't have a smoke screen, so it can't hide friendly ships. It can't hide itself. Its detection is bested by other boats, so its detection is not amazing. It's a whole lot of mediocre, but it has amazing AA. So if you look at it in terms of power budget, they pulled power out of the guns. They pulled power out of the torps. They pulled power out of the concealment. They pulled power out of the smoke screen, and they put a lot of that power into AA, which I believe makes it a support platform. Your guns aren't great, but they'll set fires. Your torps aren't great, but they'll make floods because they're consistent. You'll hits result in floods. But you have very consistent AA that you can choose to place wherever the hell you want. And you even have a heal, which allows you to contest and be spotted to be able to contest. So when you light off your AA, you murder some planes, you're spotted, you might take some shells, you might get hit by the planes, but you do have a heal to be able to recover from that while performing a supportive function. Then we move on to the Golden Lion. Well, a lot of people say, oh man, these Dutch cruisers, they're terrible. Their guns, they're awful. The bombs, they're awful. Well, the airstrike allows you a different way to interact with the map, but they have a lot of armor, which means they can move forward, which means they can support in front of battleships and also behind destroyers. They can give destroyers a platform to pull back to because they have enough armor that they can take some beating. They have enough healing that they can take beating and continue to live. They can light off their AA and continue to be okay. They don't have gun power, though. They don't have raw damage. They don't have raw influence in that matter. They have support possibilities. You can place a support item in a mid area and it can provide consistent helpfulness, I guess. But we also have to recognize where did they get the power to put into the AA? They pulled it out of the guns. They removed torpedoes in favor of an airstrike, which maybe you consider as a side grade, but most people would say is downstepping the power of the ship. While the ships are tanky, they're not amazing. You're pulling a lot of that power budget to put it into anti-air stuff, and to be fair, Dutch stuff can murder planes. It doesn't have automatic plane death out to 7 kilometers. That's not its gimmick, but it has extremely powerful plane protection in the mid-range. So you could choose to use your ship to cock block an attack line into a battleship. You could choose to play near a battleship to prevent it from being bombed, other things of that nature. But the whole reason I'm going into this long, gigantic spiel is because the Des Moines is a wonderful ship, even with no CV in the game. But it can't kill all the planes. Great. It's still a wonderful ship, even if there's no CV in the game. The Wooster is a wonderful ship, even if there's no CV in the game. Holland, I would say, actually suffers by not having a CV, because a Holland excels in a CV-esque environment because it's going to be able to deny things that a CV could otherwise take advantage of by the virtue of it's a Holland. The Golden Lion, I think, also thrives in this environment because it provides protection, it provides anchor points in a way that other ships do not. Now, you might have an Alaska that could fill a similar role, or maybe not a Puerto Rico, but you could have battle cruisers that exist as premiums that could fill that role, but you don't have a tech tree line that can do it, and yet they've designed one now. So just to kind of recap, why is AA different now? One, because the old stuff could just murder face planes off the face of the universe, but the enemy had multiple different interaction points. So while these planes got murdered, they could still be doing stuff on another flank, still interacting with other ships. So it's okay to have a strong ability to do that. And because they had to have extremely powerful AA to avoid their teammates getting 100-0. Just congratulations, you're dead. The newer style ships, yes, there is AA creep. But as there is AA creep, they're pulling out power from the guns, pulling out power from the torps to make sure that while, yes, you're bringing more utility in this area, you're not necessarily just a Des Moines with amazing AA. You're not a Wooster and you have amazing AA, because that would just be power creep. That just makes something that's good better. This is something that makes something mediocre have a niche, which is it's going to fit into its own little role. And having additional AA has been found to be a role that people want, because CVs can be frustrating, and it does give you the ability to deal with CVs in different and more interesting ways than what you had before.